Really good. We know in the current climate, the world and the evil that it champions is often celebrated in the workplace, giving employees no chance then to actively participate. What advice would you have for those people that are feeling pressured to compromise?
Well, to say you are not alone. Yeah, there, I quote in the book some surveys of some major companies here in the United States, in which people actually in management positions were surveyed. And clearly, between, I can't remember the numbers right now exactly, but something between 60 and 70% said in order to succeed in their job, they had to compromise on their ethics. And I've been in academics a lot of years, and I recognize those are precisely the numbers from American universities. The number of students that say they have to cheat on exams in order to do well, is roughly surveyed 60 to 70%. It's probably even higher than that. But what you understand is people develop habits early on. In order to succeed, I have to compromise my ethics. And the result of that, the consequences for us as believers, is that our ethics are really the way that we show love to neighbor and confidence in God. So if I'm sacrificing my ethics, then what I'm really doing is cheating my neighbor, and what I'm really doing is damaging my witness to God. And so, listen, there can be hard choices we need to make. And in the book, I talk about when I was actually in seminary, one of my very good friends was able to stay in seminary because his wife worked as the quality control supervisor for a major pharmaceutical company in the town that we were. And at some point, as this quality control inspector, she discovered that a massive production lot of syringes had become contaminated. And that meant the company was going to have to remake them. And her boss just very readily factored what it would actually cost the company to remanufacture the syringes, and said to her, sign the statement anyway that these are not contaminated. Just sign the statement and we'll ship them on. And she would not do that. And so he gave her the weekend to think about it. He said, you think about it. But I expect the form to be signed when you come in on Monday morning. Now, it wasn't just that she knew her job was at risk. She knew that her husband's ability to be in school, that their future ministry, that their future family depended on that job. And yet she was being asked to endanger other people, to sign a lie, to compromise her ethics for the sake of her personal good and the personal good of her husband. Well, I would tell you that she did not sign the form. But then I would have to tell you she was also fired. I mean, she lost the job because she would not, it's a fallen world, in case you haven't heard, David.
Yeah.
And not everything works out with just kind of this, it's all peace and light as long as we do good things. No, she was fired for doing the right thing. Now, I should complete the story by telling you that when the syringes were not delivered on time, the company that was expecting them began to investigate and found out what had happened was that she had protected them from the contaminated shipment. They hired her and she actually got a better job. Now, listen, that kind of comes almost like a Christmas present with a pretty bow on top. And you and I know life is not always that way. But this is what I know, that a sovereign God is going to provide for us as he knows is best for our eternity. We may have to suffer in this life. Jesus said we take up our cross daily. The theology of the cross says we exemplify and live for him by suffering in his behalf. So I won't tell Christians that failure to compromise your ethics is always going to have a nice little story at the end of it. It may require suffering, but it promotes the glory of God and it promotes his purposes. And ultimately, it is living as Christ calls us to that demonstrate. When people say, you mean you're willing to live for a Savior even when it costs you? Well, then you must believe in some kind of a Savior. You must believe something exceptional that I don't understand. And it takes us back to our work is our worship. It's also our witness.
Yeah, really good.